Greetings, superb people. This is Apostolina Gardner, your culinary and fitness model. This is the Culinary and Fitness Series, episode number 51. So you want to know what you are eating. The topic is about research, and this is in relation to my task for this strong, which is the pantry surgery. You want to know what you're eating, don't you? I am going to share with you all of my wealth of wellness in relation to how I did the research. Much love and appreciation for joining me. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I am ready to share with you because you want to know what you are eating. I am going to start off with a little bit of the seasoning. And the seasoning, are the specific ingredients or the details that relate to how you research. There was a point in time, obviously, as you know, I talk about the stabbing abdominal pain I had. I wanted to know what I was eating. And this came about because after I went to see some doctors, they just gave me a bunch of medicine that made me even sicker. And disclaimer, I am not a medical care physician, nor am I a health professional or a doctor. So please consult the proper professionals. This is my opinion, and I am sharing it for entertainment and educational purposes only. So with this wanting to know what I was eating, the research. So how did I come about finding out that I needed to do some research? Yes, exactly. There were questions that I had, and so in order to answer questions, you need to do some research. And I'm saying research because technically I was searching, but I was researching what I had already known about or had been taught. So this is why we talk about this topic of research. Now you may be saying, boring, but yeah, I know, but that's how you're going to find out what you are actually eating. You see, when I first got into this information about doing research on the food, I actually came across it because someone was telling me about some of the ingredients that was in the food I was eating. Now, the last podcast, the topic was about the ingredients. These are different ingredients, not your body or your functional ingredients. These are ingredients that come in the food or items that we consume. So these ingredients that I was researching, the point behind that was because they have an effect. And as I spoke about before, is that what you consume or what you are adding to your diet or your environment is creating your elemental recipe, or it's calibrating or altering your elemental recipe. Therefore, you may want to know what ingredients you are adding to your current recipe. And in adding ingredients to your current recipe, that is going to change the taste or the overall outcome of what your lifestyle will become. If you want to change your lifestyle, this is how you do it. If you're not seeking to change your lifestyle in a fashion that's going to be instigated by specific ingredients that may not be to the best of your health, then you may want to change the ingredients that you are eating. Thus, you want to know what you are eating? Do the research. I'm going to start off with giving you some bits and pieces more about how I found out about doing the research. So as I was saying, there was someone who was telling me about these ingredients that I was ingesting. And I had been aware of ingredients, it's stuff that's on the label that we have with the food, so it tells us what's in it. What I was not aware of is that some of these ingredients were not natural or organic, as they say now, but some of these ingredients were manufactured in a laboratory or some sort of building by people in kind of like a lab. So they were kind of synthesized or modified genetically, and thus it's not actually connected to the energy of the earth like us people are. Through our birth from the mother, we come from a living being that is of the earth. Now, I'm not saying these ingredients that was created by the scientists are of the earth, because they are, but they don't have the same connection because they were not created in its most natural form, such as a plant growing out of the ground or a being being birthed from a live animal that has sentience. So again, I'm not saying that these ingredients don't have sentience. They were created by a creation of the creator as opposed to being created by the creator. And I say the creator, I'm talking about the earth. Now, I'm not getting religious or spiritual or any of that, because technically everything is spiritual in some sense. But what I learned was that I needed to do my own research, and I needed to find out what was in these ingredients that I was consuming, because according to my stabbing abdominal pain, what I had been eating from birth was causing a stabbing abdominal pain, and I was not happy with that. So that was actually my wake-up call when I decided to take control of what I was eating, and that's when I did the research. Now, in this research, I found that I knew nothing was true about what I had been eating, and what I thought I was eating was not what I was eating. This is why you do research. So you want to know what you are eating? Well, you're going to have to find out for yourself. I will not specifically tell you about the ingredients, but in the next segment, I'm going to tell you about how you can go about researching or searching for your ingredients, the truth about them, where to go, what to look for, and how to create and determine your own method for choosing or selecting the ingredients that you decide to eat or the food that you actually want to consume. Let's let that marinate for a moment, shall we? Yes, that was a very abrupt marinade, but I believe you got the point. So as I mentioned, I will now talk about how you will go about doing your own research. Now, some of you may be thinking, I know how to research, I know what I'm doing. Perhaps you do, but that's not what you're here for. You're here to learn what I did. Thus, I was able to learn about what I was eating by doing the research that I did. And over the years, I have a system in place, more like a process, as I mentioned, the Me Operate Dinner Tables process. When you do your research, one of the things you want to start off with is you get a notepad or your phone if you like to use that. But the idea is to write down your intention of what it is you're researching. Put down the elements that you are aware of you want to research so that when you get into doing the searching, you don't get sidetracked or distracted. And you know how easy that is when you're searching stuff. You get sent another way and you look up something else and something else. Next thing you know, you're like, wait, how did I get on looking at suitcases? Exactly. You get off topic and you lose your train of thought. So this is to eliminate the distractions, and be sure you check down or check off whatever you're researching so that you know, hey, I did cover this point. And possibly bookmark or save or screenshot some of the locations of where you're searching so that you can come back to it for reference. Now that's the first part. Again, you want to have your intention, put that down on a piece of paper or a tablet or something in front of you so that you can check it to stay on course. The next part of the research is the type of search engine or browser that you're using. There's so many of them these days. Now, I can't really tell you which ones are the best. All I know is that we have Chrome, we have Incognito, there's DuckDuckGo, there's so many other ones that you can use. But keep in mind that if you're searching something that's kind of sensitive, you may want to use Incognito or one of these other browsers such as DuckDuckGo where you're not being tracked, and that is your choice to do it. Not saying that it's good or bad, I'm just pointing out that that's what you want to do. When you select which browser you would like to use, I choose to open about 3 separate windows. Now, you don't have to do it immediately. You can do it as you go along. But the idea is to have your main points of research in each of those windows. Because when you get to researching, you're going to be branching out a bit, and you don't want to have too many topics in one grouping because you'll get lost. However, if everything is all related, which usually they are because you open up a new window from something you research, that'll take you to the next window. So I do my best. Sometimes I only allow 5 to 7 of each topic. Why? Because you want to have a good variety of resources that are providing you information about whatever it is you're searching. If you only take 1 or 2, that's limiting, and you may only get a pro and a con or 2 of the same thing. When you open it up a little bit more to 5 to 7, now that gives you a wider range of opinions or information and knowledge perspective from different types of sources. Again, this is up to you. You could do less, you could do more. I'm telling you how I did it, because when I was researching, I learned that if I only chose 2, maybe 3 windows, sometimes a lot of those all had the same perspective, and thus I was not getting all sides of the coin or all of the areas that I needed, and it seemed very biased. Another thing I did when I was pulling up different windows of topics is from the search list, I leave that window open, and then I open up everything else from there. So you have your main search window, and then you open up a new one. But how you select what you want is obviously you pay attention to the sponsorships and the ads first. You don't want to choose any of those. If it's something that interests you, you can take note of it and then find it below, but do not click on the first few links that say sponsored or ads, because now you are going to be tracked in some way, because that's what those are for. Underneath of the ads and the sponsored advertising links, you will have a list. Lots of times I will go through and choose which ones are, some of them could be like from specific agencies, and then others are from everyday people, so that you get both perspectives. You also want to get different types of professionals' opinions. And you also want to have possibly some kind of educational organization, so like a university or college. Again, now that would give me 4 options, because we have, let's say, a government agency, an everyday person, a professional being, a school entity, and that leaves a 5th one. And a 5th one would just be something that kind of resonates with you that I select because I feel like, this one seems like a new perspective. I'm going to choose that. And so that's how I come up with 5 to 7. Now the 7, sometimes I may say, hey, this is such an interesting topic. Let me see if anybody has a different perspective. So that's when I would get 6 or 7, and I would totally choose something that's not even related to any of the others, like specifically like the source. Not related to any of those, and that's how I end up with 5 to 7. The next point to do in the research is after you have all of these windows open, go through each section at one at a time. So don't look at any of them. You open them all up from your main list. You know, the scrolling list that lists all of the search from the search. So you leave that open. You just open them all in a new window. When you're done, when you have your 5 to 7, now you start off either at one end or the other and work your way through. Here's the key. You don't want to read the whole page because that could take you all day. I skim through and read specific words that trigger, hey, I can look at this later. So then I leave that window open. If I find one that doesn't seem to be very truthful or relevant, I will close that window. And if I end up with only 2 or 3 after that, sometimes I'll go through the main search window and open up another one. So that way I have a variety of perspectives to work with. Ultimately, you go through each topic, each grouping, separate windows, and you do that for each specific topic that you're researching. What you want to look for, like I said, are keywords, things that talk about what you're eating, how it's made, manufactured, whether it's done in a laboratory or natural. You want to see who's working on the project. Are they professionals? Are they everyday people? Are these scientists? That way you can be aware of what the perspective is and the mindset. When I went through all of my research, I made a point to get the pros and the cons and not be discouraged to research anything that could be a possibility to tell me something or some knowledge about what it was that I was eating, why it would be good for me, or why it wasn't good for me. And thus I was able to determine healthy and unhealthy ingredients from my list while I was doing research. And with that, we are coming upon the closure for this podcast. So when we get to the next step, the pantry surgery, you're going to be using this research to determine what it is that you deem to be healthy and unhealthy. And thus, by you doing this task of researching, you will be armed with the best tool ever. Let's put it that way. So you want to know what you are eating? Well, that's exactly what you will find out. Again, I'm not going to tell you what to research. That's going to be up to you. I just mentioned that it's the ingredients. And be smart, be wise, take notes, do screenshots, keep examples, bookmark, Evernote, whatever you need to do so that you are able to do your research properly and keep your notes in great shape. That means organize. Much love and appreciation. Thank you for joining me. I am Apostle Anita Gardner, your culinary and fitness model. This is the Culinary and Fitness Series, episode number 51. So you want to know what you are eating. The topic is about research, and this is in relation to my task for this strong, which is the pantry surgery. A rose in perfection shines bright.